Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barca News. It is September 27th, 2024, and UEFA have sanctioned Barcelona. Also, there are delays in the construction of the Spotify Camp Nou or the renovation of the Spotify Camp Nou. And finally, Thiago Alcantara is set to come back to the club. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mo. This is the Barca News live podcast, which is on every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, where not only do I get to share Barcelona news with you, but I also get to interact with you lovely people in the chat section by reading your comments out loud, answering your questions, and getting a discussion going. For those of you who will be watching when the podcast ends, I will be putting timestamps in the description and chapters in the timeline if you do want to skip through that discussion. Now, having said all that, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. We're almost at the 100K, so let's make that happen. Hit that subscribe button. And finally, if you are looking for any Barcelona jerseys or merchandise, make sure to hit the Goal Kids, Kid Bag, or Fanatics. And if you are looking to place any sports bets, make sure you hit the Bet Us. All links are in the description. If you click on them, not only you would be helping the channel, but you would also be helping yourself because you do get access to some pretty cool deals and discounts. Now, having said all that, let's dive right into the news because, ladies and gentlemen, I do have bad news because UEFA have decided to sanction Barcelona because, of course, whenever things are going good, something bad has to happen. It's just the nature of being a Barcelona fan. And while this is one of them, it's not a big sanction, but nonetheless, it's a sanction. And we have to mention it because UEFA decided to sanction Barcelona thanks to this idiot that you see on your screen. This was during the match against Monaco, where one of the fans held a big sign that said Flick Heil, or Hail Flick, which of course is in reference, or at least could be connected back to Nazi Germany, when of course Hitler used to be saluted the same way. But this time it was kind of flick. I don't know if this idiot decided to make this sign as a reference to Nazism or whether it was just he thought it would be a good way to salute Flick since Flick is German. I don't know. It was very bad taste. In fact, after the match, the vice president of Barcelona, he commented on it. He was very upset at that sign. And well, UEFA noticed it and they have decided to sanction Barcelona because of that sign. And the sanction is a 10,000 euro fine that Barcelona will have to pay UEFA, which of course is nothing for a club as big as Barcelona. But this is where the kicker is, or the more serious sanction is that Barcelona will be prohibited from having away fans or having fans in the next away match. The next away match will be against Red Star on November 6th. It will be played in Belgrade. So Barcelona will have to play that match without any fans. So thank you very much, unknown moron in the stands who decided to make that sign, who thought it was funny to make that sign, because now Barcelona will have to play the Champions League match against Red Star without any fans. Now, more news, and this is also bad news because, ladies and gentlemen, there are delays in the renovation of the Spotify Camp Nou. Now, as you know, Barcelona have been renovating the Spotify Camp Nou since June of 2023, so it's been more than a year. The goal was to return to the Spotify Camp Nou by either December of this year or January of next year. And in fact, they had applied to the city of Barcelona for an extended schedule where Barcelona applied and got the application approved to work 24 hours around the clock on the stadium. Of course, until 10 p.m., they could do work outside. And inside the stadium, they would be able to work 24 hours because there's no noise. They can do, work without having to disrupt the neighborhood. That schedule got approved, and that was a big boost for Barcelona because since they were going to be able to work 24 hours every day, they were hoping to be done by December. Barcelona were hoping to get back to the stadium by the Atletico Madrid match, Barcelona versus Atletico Madrid, which is on December 22nd. But now it seems like there is a slight delay, so it looks like Barcelona will not be back in their stadium by December, and the delay is due to lack of workers, because right now there are 1,800 workers working on the Spotify Camp Nou. When Barcelona got that schedule approved of working or being able to work 24 hours, they needed obviously more workers, right? You need more shifts, more workers, and they weren't able to get those workers. They're having to get them from outside of Catalonia. They're having to bring workers from outside of Catalonia to work on the stadium. And of course, that takes time, because not only do you have to, search for workers, interview them, hire them, process their paperwork, but you also have to train them, right? You have to train them on what their duties are. So this whole lack of workers and having to bring workers from outside of Catalonia has caused a delay. And as such, Barcelona will not be able to come back by the end of this year. The board of directors are hopeful that the team will be back in the stadium by beginning of next year, so January. However, there are sources saying that the more realistic timeline would be April, which will be by the second El Clásico match. We know the first El Clásico match is in October at the Santiago Bernabéu. The second El Clásico match will be in April of next year, and that, some sources are saying that will be the more realistic timeline, where Barcelona are not going to play at the Camp Nou until April. But again, the board remains hopeful that we might be able to play there by this January. Whichever one happens, one thing is for sure, will not be back there by this December. So definitely bad news, and more so from the financial standpoint, right? Because going back to the Spotify Camp Nou will mean more money. But if we have to delay it by more months, that means more months where Barcelona will make less money from playing at the Olympic Stadium. Now, the last bit of news is that some of the figures of the contract renewal of Marc Bernal have been confirmed. This is something I told you last week. I told you that Barcelona had reached an agreement to extend the contract of Marc Bernal until 2026. And then once he turns 18, which is in May of 2025, his contract would automatically extend for 3 more years, so until 2029. Because as you know, under FIFA rules, or I think it's La Liga rules, maybe UEFA rules, under the rules, if you're under 18, you cannot sign long contracts. You can only sign 3-year contracts. So Marc Bernal is 17, so his contract is only until 2026. But when he turns 18 next year, it would automatically extend until 2029. And they have added a 500 million euro release clause in order to shield the player from any outside clubs want to take him away, because of course Barcelona consider that Marc Bernal is the future bet and the future pivot of Barcelona. Great gesture by the club, who have decided to extend the contract of Bernal despite him suffering that season-ending injury, sending him a clear message that even though you're injured, even though your season's over, we still believe in you, we still trust in you, we know you're going to come back better and stronger, and therefore he's a contract renewal, which again has been reached by both parties. We don't know the exact salary, but we do know it's until 2029 with a 500 million euro release clause. All right, let's do the chat section, and then we will talk about Thiago Alcantara, who will be back in January. Marcus says, hey Mo, I couldn't just believe that I am one of the first person to be on this wonderful podcast. Indeed, we are bringing joy to our community every day, to the world of soccer, football from North Dakota. Thank you, my friend, for your wonderful message. Thank you for watching, and all the way from North Dakota. Wow. Stay warm, my friend. Winter is coming. Tizan says, hi, Mo. How are you doing, my friend? When Gabi is going to return to the pitch together with Dani Olmo? Gabi is expected to come back around maybe the Bayern Munich match in October, maybe El Clásico match in October, sometime around there. Dani Olmo is expected to come back, same thing, after the international break, which will end on October 20th against Sevilla. They're saying Dani Olmo could be back against Bayern Munich as well, maybe against the Clásico match. So the two of them will be back around the same time, which is, again, right after the FIFA international break that will take place in October. And I have to say, man, I'm sick and tired of these FIFA international breaks. Anyways, MFA Scully says, hi, Mo, do you ever do love watch along when Barca have games? I do want to start doing them. I had never thought about it, but I've gotten these comments a lot. People are like, Mo, do watch along. So I think I'm going to start doing it. And why not tomorrow, right? Let me see. What time is Barcelona playing? Okay, 3 p.m. this New York time. What do you guys think? Maybe I'll put what's called? A poll. I don't know why I couldn't think of the word. I'll put a poll in the post or in the community tab. and see if you guys want to see watch-alongs. I'll be more than happy to do watch-alongs. I've never done them. I don't know how the first one will go. It's probably gonna be awkward because I don't know. I'm not used to filming myself what I watch, but I'm totally down. If you guys want to see that, I'm totally down to do it. And Wisdom says, hey Mo, good morning. All the clubs in La Liga know that the double standards toward Madrid because Diego Simeone said something about today. Why don't they do anything? Because there's nothing much you could do, right? La Liga, who's the president of La Liga? Javier Tebas, self-declared Madridista. Most of the people on that board of La Liga, also Madridistas. Royal Spanish Football Federation, the president and most of them on that board, also Madridistas. The refereeing board, the committee of referees, most of them Madridistas. The referees themselves, most of them Madridistas. So what can you do? There's absolutely nothing you could do. Florentino Perez is an incredibly powerful man, not just within La Liga and the Royal Spanish Football Federation, but within the entire country of Spain. He's incredibly wealthy. He has a lot of power. He has a lot of connections in government. He's incredibly, incredibly powerful man. That's why when people come and they're like commenting, oh, referees, they prefer Barcelona. Or I'm like, you have no idea what you're talking about. And I'm not saying that because I'm a Barcelona fan. But even if I wasn't a Barcelona fan, if someone came to me and tried to convince me that referees in Spain prefer Barcelona, I would be like, you obviously are A, know nothing about La Liga or Spain, or B, you're an idiot. Maybe both, right? Because there's no way, if you knew anything about the Spanish league, or if you knew anything about even Spanish politics, you don't even have to care about football, just Spanish politics. Even if you knew anything about Spanish politics, you would know that there's no way the referees would prefer Barcelona over Madrid because how powerful Florentino Perez is within Spain as a country, not in La Liga Royal Spanish, as a country. Florentino Perez is up there. You have the president, you have the king, I think they have a prime minister, I don't care, and then they have Florentino Perez. He is an incredibly powerful man, and that's just how it goes. But anyways, let's get back to the news and then we'll do more comments. But let's talk about, ladies and gentlemen, Thiago Alcantara, because he is set to come back in January. Yes, we're going to have a former Barcelona Academy player, the former Barcelona player, and the former assistant coach, because he was an assistant coach. Now, as you know, Thiago Alcantara announced his retirement at the end of last season. He came to Barcelona during the summer to help out with Flick. When he first arrived, he wasn't too convinced about being assistant coach. He, had just announced retirement. He wanted to rest, spend time with his family. Flick convinced him to come for a short period of time. Alcantara came, or Thiago came. He was incredibly, incredibly happy with his role in Barcelona. Flick and his staff were incredibly happy with Thiago. The players were happy with Thiago. Everybody was happy. And he ended up getting convinced that, this is a great role. I want to work in this role. But what happened? Well, taxes happened. Because when Thiago Alcantara retired, he got money from Liverpool. When he retired from Liverpool, he got money because, his contract was ended. So he got like a settlement from Liverpool and he had to pay taxes on that settlement. And part of that, he had to remain in the UK until the end of this year. So because of that, Thiago, even though he had been convinced that he wanted to be part of Flick's staff on a permanent basis, he had to fly back to the UK in order to fulfill his tax duties. But at the end of this year, beginning of next year, January 1st, 2025, he is free to leave the UK. And as such, he is set to come back to Barcelona. He's going to sign a contract with Barcelona and he's going to join Hansi Flick's staff on a permanent basis. And this has been confirmed by many sources within the club. This is no longer rumor speculations. This is happening. Now, the new news, because I had already told you about this. I told you that, Alcantara had to go back because of tax reasons, but he wanted to come to Barcelona. I had already told you about that. But the new news is that it seems that Thiago, even though he went back to the UK and he wasn't working as an assistant coach, he never stopped communicating with the club. In fact, they're reporting that Flick and Thiago speak on a constant basis. They're always talking on the phone. They're always discussing things, discussing tactics, discussing players, discussing the team. And Thiago, matter of fact, has even joined staff meetings virtually, where he has joined virtually with with meetings with Flick and his staff. They have debated tactics. They have debated what to do with formation, players, etc. So even though he's been away from the club, he has still been linked to the club. He's still been working with Flick and with his staff as far as, the team's tactics and what's going on, which is pretty cool, which shows that, Thiago was truly forced to leave because of the whole tax situation, that he really was happy working here, that he always wanted to remain on a permanent basis. Of course, he couldn't because of the tax situation, but now he's going to be back in January. And despite that, that did not stop him from still wanting to help the team succeed under Flick. All right, let's get back to the chat section, and then we will talk about Barcelona's newest signing, Wojciech Szczesny. And yes, it is Szczesny. It's not Szczesny. People call him Szczesny because they don't know how to say Szczesny. I already see people correcting me in the comments. It's Szczesny. No, it's not. That's how people say it because it's easier. It's Szczesny. But anyways, let's get back to the chat section. Themba says, Camp Nou is on track, right? Just like we were on track to reach the 1-1 rule. Can't believe a word a management says. My friend, this has nothing to do with management. Management signed a contract with a company called Limac, and it's up to Limac to fulfill their end. If Limac does not fulfill their end, there are clauses in the contract that punishes them, and they have to pay a fine or a fee to Barcelona for every time they're delayed. So there's certain terms in the contract. Let's say, okay, demolition has to be finished by this date. Foundation has to be laid by this date. Cement has to be poured by this date, right? There's different terms in the contract. Every time Limac goes over a term, past the deadline, they have to pay Barcelona money. This has nothing to do with management. It's the nature of construction. Anyone who's ever done construction knows that there's one rule in construction, which is the start date, but you never know the finish date. It's just the nature of construction, and the bigger the project, the more the delays. Super Fun says, I meet the podcast today from Nigeria. Click the like button, subscribe, and comment, guys. Thank you, my friend. And yes, please, guys, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. You'll be helping this channel. And again, we're very close to 100K. Let's make it happen. Mohammed says, hi, Mo. I really, really, really want to meet you one day. It's going to be a dream come true for me. I'll keep praying for that. If I become a pro in football, I'd like for you to become my agent. I would love that. I've never been an agent for anyone, but I am a lawyer, so I've represented thousands of people. So yes, my friend, and if that's your dream to be a professional, I really hope you make that dream come true. Not because I'm trying to become your agent, but because I believe that everybody deserves to make their dreams come true. And one more comment, and then we will go back to the news. But David says, so all an opposing fan has to do is make a sign and let Barca take blame. Unfortunately, that's how it is, right? When the fans act stupid, the clubs get punished for it. It's unfortunate because now Barcelona will have to play without fans against Red Star. And it's going to be needed because, Red Star fans are very violent. It's an away match. You want as much support as you can. And it sucks, right? It sucks because the club is getting punished because they have to pay money. The players are going to get punished because now they have to play and match without fans. The fans get punished because, there was probably people who wanted to go to Belgrade and watch the match. Maybe there's Barcelona fans who live in Belgrade and wanted to watch the match. But now they can't do it. Why? Because some fucking idiot, excuse my language, decided to make a funny sign that said Flick Isle. Like, the fuck is wrong with people? But unfortunately, that's how it is. That's life, right? We all get punished for the weakest link, right? Speed limits exist because, there was one idiot who couldn't drive at 35 miles per hour. So now we all have to drive at 35 miles per hour because that one idiot couldn't do it, right? It's just how it is, unfortunately. Anyways, let's get back to the news and let's talk about our newest signing, Wojciech Szczesny, who we now know how much he will earn. Now, as you know, Szczesny and Barcelona have agreed for the Polish goalkeeper to become Barcelona's newest signing in order to replace the injured Ter Stegen, whose season is pretty much over. Szczesny will arrive on Monday. He will undergo the medical exams on Monday, and if everything looks good, he will sign his contract on Monday, and he will officially become Barcelona's technically second goalkeeper. That's what they're telling us. That's what Flick is saying. That's what the club are saying. Szczesny is here to kind of be the substitute for Iñaki Peña, but we all know it's probably going to depend on who does better in trainings, because after all, this is Hansi Flick. Hansi Flick chooses players based on who performs the best, and if Szczesny ends up showing us that he's better than Iñaki, I'm sure Flick will eventually put him as the starter. Now, Szczesny, as I told you in yesterday's video, has already started training. Yes, he hasn't signed for Barcelona yet. He has already started training on his own. He was living in Marbella, which is part of Spain. He was there with his wife. He was there to retire. But now that he's going to become a Barcelona goalkeeper, he's already started training, starting conditioning himself to get back into shape, because, again, he's coming here to earn that spot. He's not here to sit on the bench and sip on piña coladas. He could do that in Marbella in retirement. But anyways, the new news is that we now know how much Wojciech Szczesny will earn, and they're saying it's around 3 to 4 million euros, which, of course, brings us to the next bit of news, and it has to do with the registration of Dani Olmo. Now, you might say, Mo, what does Dani Olmo have to do with Wojciech Szczesny besides the fact that they're both blonde? I'll tell you. Now, you know that Olmo's only registered temporarily because Barcelona didn't have enough space on their wage bill, or didn't have enough financial fair play room to register Olmo. When Christensen got injured, Olmo got registered in his place because, as you know, there's a rule in La Liga where if a player is injured for a long time, you can use 80% of his salary to register someone else. So Christensen gets injured, Dani Olmo gets registered in his place. That's only valid until December 31st. January 1st, 2025, Olmo will be unregistered, and Barcelona will have to find a different way to register him. How? In the place of Ter Stegen. Now, you might say, wait a minute, Mo. How are they going to register Olmo in the place of Ter Stegen if Wojciech Szczesny is being registered in his place? Well, as you know, Ter Stegen has a big salary. He's a very important player. He's a veteran. He's been around for a long time, so his salary is pretty big. La Liga rules allow us to use 80% of Ter Stegen's salary since he's been injured for a while. Since Wojciech Szczesny is going to only earn between 3 to 4 million, which is a small salary, that does leave more room to maybe be able to register Dani Olmo starting January 1st. Now, this will have to be approved by La Liga. It has not been approved yet. So Barcelona will have to bring this to La Liga, and if La Liga approve it, Barcelona will be able to register Olmo and Wojciech Szczesny in the place of Ter Stegen, who, again, his season is over, even though he is trying to come back before. I just don't see it happening, especially with an injury this serious and with a surgery this serious. Now, they're saying also in Barcelona that if the deal to sign Wojciech Szczesny falls through, which it shouldn't, they've already agreed. He's coming on Monday. He will undergo medical exams. But let's say something happens. I don't know. Medical exams comes out funky. But if the deal falls through, they're saying Barcelona are not going to sign anyone until the winter transfer market. And you can imagine why. Remember the podcast I did, I think it was Monday, maybe last week? I went over all the list of available goalkeepers that would be available to be signed right now. Not in the winter, right now. Free agents, because you can only sign free agents right now. And wow, it was a shitty list. So, Szczesny is the only viable option from goalkeepers available right now. So if the deal falls through, Barcelona are not signing anyone else. They're going to keep Iñaki, and in January, we'll look for someone else. Because I told you that list was shitty. People were like, well, what you talking about? Anyways. All right, let's do the comment section, and then we will talk about Real Madrid and their financial fair play. Now, I usually don't like to talk about Real Madrid, but we have to, because we're dealing with financial fair play problems. Every club in La Liga are dealing with financial fair play problems. Let's see whether La Liga does the same to Madrid, and you'll know what I'm talking about in a little bit. Let's see. Marcus says, hey, Mo, what do you think of Flick's rotation for tomorrow's game? If he is thinking of doing, what do you think is better for the player? I think Íñigo Martínez is going to need to be rested because he has played every single match. Maybe not as much as Cubarsí, because Cubarsí is younger. Plus, Íñigo did not play in the FIFA international break, and I don't think he's been called up for the October 1. for the October international break. So Iñigo does need rest, but it's not as important as Cubarsí, because Cubarsí did get called up to Spain the last international break, and he will be called up again. So if Iñigo does not get called up, I guess resting him would not be as big of a priority, because then he can rest during those 2 weeks that the FIFA international break will go on. Cubarsí, on the other hand, he's going to need rest because he's going to get called up, right? Balde got rotated, so maybe he can play against Osasuna, but we do have the Champions League match, so maybe only start him, but substitute him around the 50th, 60th minute. Kunde's been playing every single match since last season. Like last season, he played every single match. He played in the Euros. He came back. He's been playing in La Liga. He played international break. He's going to be called up for the next international break. Kunde needs rest. And I think Osasuna would be a good match to rest him. Maybe have Hector Fort play there, but he will need some rest. In the midfield, Pedri was rested, so he could play tomorrow against Osasuna. Casado was not. Casado played against Getafe, so maybe put Pedri in the place of Casado, have Casado rest, and have Pedri play. Eric Garcia. Eric Garcia hasn't played much. He's only played 2 matches, so he can be played tomorrow again, right? He has plenty of rest. The front 3 or the middle 3, Lamine is going to have to rest. He's been playing every minute. I think tomorrow will be a good match. Then you have Rafinha. He's played every match, so he might need some rest too. And Rafinha has been called up to Brazil, even though he wasn't called up last international break. So he's going to need rest too, which of course becomes complicated because without Lamine and Rafinha, you don't have any pure wingers. So what do, right? You put Ansu maybe on the left and Ferran on the right. You could do that, but it's tough, right? Ansu just came back from injury, and well, Ferran is Ferran. And then Lewandowski, you can always play him and then substitute him in the 60th minute. After all, as a center forward, as someone who stays in the box, he doesn't run much. So, but if you want to rest him, we do have options, right? Pau Victor. Anyways, let's see. Let's do one more. Carlos says, hey, Mo, who do you think is more likely to leave? Frankie or Araujo, or maybe both? That's a good question. That's a really good question. It's looking like both. But things could change, right? Frankie, when he's back from injury, he could start playing. Maybe he starts vibing with Flick. Maybe he builds a good relationship with Flick. Maybe he sees that the team is winning. Because one thing they were saying about Frankie was that not only was he disappointed with Barcelona because Alemany tried to push him out 2 seasons ago, but he was also disappointed because when he signed for Barca, he thought he was going to come here and win Champions Leagues and, trophies, and that has not been the case. So maybe under Flick, he develops a good relationship. Maybe he sees the team is winning, that there's chances of him collecting those trophies that he wanted to collect, and maybe he stays, right? I don't know. Araujo, it was never about trophies or anything. Araujo was more about the money. Barcelona promised to pay him more because when he renewed, he agreed to a much lower salary because he knew that club's finances were bad, with the promise that later down the road, when he renews again, he was going to get a lot more money. Barcelona have offered him more money, but he thinks he deserves more. So I don't know how that can be fixed, right? Frankie's thing is like more of a relationship with the club, more about trophies. That could be fixed, right? He can have an improved relationship with Flick. He can have, more trophies now that the team is doing better. Araujo is strictly about money. And if the club is not willing to offer him more, then maybe Araujo ends up leaving. I don't know. I would like Araujo to stay. I think he's one of the best defenders in the world. But if he wants to leave, there's nothing you could do about it. Plus, we do have alternatives. It's not like, Araujo left. What do we do now, right? We have Cubarsí. We have Iñigo, who's absolutely killing it. We have Christensen, who will be back from injury soon. We have Sergio Dominguez, who looks very promising. We have options, right? Anyways, let's do the last bit of news, and then we will do more comments, I promise. But let's talk about Real Madrid and their renovation of the Santiago Bernabeu. I usually don't like to talk about Real Madrid on this channel because it's a Barca channel, but I do have to mention this because it has to do with the financial fair play, and we all know there's always a double standard in La Liga. So this is going to be very curious to watch and to follow this bit of news to see whether La Liga do apply their financial fair play in an even way, which according to them, they do. Now, what's the news? Well, the news is that today the court ruled a court in Spain ruled to halt the construction of 2 parking lots, underground parking lots, that will be connected to the underground parking lot of the Santiago Bernabeu. Now, let me explain more. Santiago Bernabeu has an underground parking lot, okay? The council, or the city of Madrid, pretty much Real Madrid, but anyways, the city of Madrid were building 2 underground garages close to the Santiago Bernabeu, and they were going to connect it with a tunnel. The city was going to fork all the money. They were going to build it. They were going to pay for it. But Real Madrid were going to take over the lease. So once the city was done building those 2 underground parking lots, Real Madrid would have taken over the lease for 40 years. So Real Madrid would pay the city of Madrid money to lease those garages. And of course, Madrid would make money off of it by charging cars who use it, right? Madrid were expected to make 561 million euros off these 2 parking garages. Now, these parking garages are not built yet. They're still under construction. However, the residents of that neighborhood around the Santiago Bernabeu have been fighting these 2 projects, or this project, because A, is going to tear up their whole neighborhoods. They're going to have to excavate everywhere, streets, sidewalks, parks. They're going to have to excavate everywhere in order to build this. It's also going to cause a lot of traffic congestion for years because they have to close streets in order to build this. And their argument is that once the project is done, it's only going to replace already existing parking on the street, on the surface, right? So they're very much against it, not to mention the noise, the dust, the pollution, etc. So there's been a legal battle between the two, between Real Madrid / the city who want this parking completed and the residents of the neighborhood who don't want it completed. Now, as part of this legal battle, which is going to take years to be resolved, the judge today ruled that all construction needs to halt until the legal battle is over and until a winner is declared. So this is a huge blow for Real Madrid because that means they're not going to make those 561 million euros anytime soon. Which begs the question, is La Liga going to factor this in to the financial fair play of Real Madrid? Because remember, when Barcelona sold Barca Vision to Libero, Barcelona submitted the paperwork and said, look, we are set to receive 200 million from the Germans down the road. It's going to be different payments in different times, right? So even though Barcelona didn't have the entire money in their pocket, the fact that they presented the contract to La Liga saying we're going to get the 200, not immediately, but in different phases, La Liga counted those 200 million towards Barcelona's financial fair play because they were set to receive it. Then Libero failed to make payments. So La Liga was like, hold on a minute, you're not getting that money. I'm going to subtract the 200 million from your financial fair play. Fair, right? Now, let's see if La Liga does the same thing to Real Madrid and whether they're going to be like, hold on a minute, you're not going to be getting that money. We're going to subtract it from your financial fair play. Not to mention that the Santiago Bernabeu was set to hold a lot of concerts and events. And right now there's problems with sound pollution where they were supposed to soundproof the stadium. So when they hold concerts, the neighbors around can sleep at night. And apparently experts are saying there's no way you can soundproof that stadium. It's impossible. So there's been a lot of noise pollution. So now Real Madrid have been forced to cancel all the concerts and events at Santiago Bernabeu, which of course generates a lot of money, millions. They're not going to be able to do that. So let's see if La Liga also subtracts that from the financial fair play of Real Madrid. It's going to be very interesting to see. And this is why I bring it up, ladies and gentlemen. It's not because I like to talk about Madrid, because I don't. But it's definitely going to be interesting to follow this thread and see what La Liga does. Marcus says, Mr. Mo, how is it that a whole club is punished for someone's mistake? Doesn't make sense. They should get and punish the person himself. Because you are responsible for your own fans, my friends. That's why. If you're a business and one of your employees punches a customer, you are responsible because you shouldn't have hired an idiot employee that would punch a customer, right? Abdu says, hi, Mo, I'm Abdu, but DJ, please keep it up. You're doing a great work. I'm following you all the way from Gambia. Thank you, my friend, for your comment and for watching. And Marcelu says, Mo, go and be picking his nose while watching the game. I'll be like, Actually, double. Anyways, let's see. Datu says, hi, Mo from Malaysia. Agree, the referee bias. Yes, my friend. Indeed, indeed. Let's see. Olushola says, Mo, you're correct. It's Szczesny, not Shenzi. My boss pronounced it to me correctly. You're right. Thank you, my friend. I worked at a Polish law firm last year. All the lawyers there were Polish. All the employees were Polish. And our customers, our clients, they were all Polish too. So I actually had to learn how to pronounce their names. And it's very difficult because there's a lot of S's followed by C's followed by Z's. And you're like, oh my God, I don't know what this is. And the W's are pronounced V. And they have a lot of sh sound and like Wojciech. And I was like, I don't know what this is. But thankfully, eventually I got the hang of it, how to read it. But yeah, it's Wojciech Szczesny. People say Szczesny because it's easier. It's fine. It's fine. But don't be commenting, trying to correct me the wrong way. That's kind of silly. What Dan says, I'm happy to see Ter Stegen's Ter Stegen replaced. Mistakes done by him in a couple of Champions Leagues still hurt me. Everybody makes mistakes, my friend. At the end of the day, he's still one of the best goalkeepers. Don't forget, it was thanks to him that we won La Liga. A lot of people are like, forget that under Xabi, it wasn't really Xabi. It was Ter Stegen saves and Lewandowski's goals that gave us that La Liga season. Let's see. AZ Snipe says, hey, Mo, I think the club should do everything possible to keep Ronald Araujo. Watching this present Barcelona would suit him well, watching live from Sierra Leone. I agree that Ronald Araujo is obviously an incredibly talented center back. And yes, I would prefer to keep him. But I don't think that the club should do everything in their power to keep him. I think Barcelona should do this with Araujo and with every player and say, look, this is what we have to offer you. You want to take it? Great. Welcome to the club. You don't want to take it? There's the door. That should be the attitude towards every single player at Barcelona, not just Araujo. We cannot be doing the same mistakes as before, where we were just throwing the whole club out the window just to keep certain players. That's not how it works. This is FC Barcelona. It's a privilege for any player to walk through that door. And if you don't understand that privilege and the honor to wear that badge and to be playing for such a historical and important club, then that's okay. There's the door. There's plenty of other clubs out there. McBarca says Madrid should thank Franco because he made his team from nobody mid-table team to represent Spain to avoid Barca and Bilbao succeeding. Exactly. It's very political. Has to do with the history of Spain. You know, Real Madrid represents Madrid, the capital, the center of power. It represents the monarchy. I mean, it's in the name, Real Madrid, which means royal. Real means royal, right? Versus Barcelona is the representation of the Catalan movement of succession. Same thing with Bilbao. You have Athletic Club de Bilbao, Real Sociedad. Those are representation of Basque country wanting to succeed, or to secede, I should say. And that's why Real Madrid has always gotten all the funding, all the preference. It's ingrained into the politics and the history of the country. It transcends the sport of football. So that's why when I say people come to me telling me about how Barcelona are favored, and I'm like, you obviously have no idea what you're talking about. Not just about football, but in general, because anyone with the least amount of knowledge about Spanish history and Spanish politics can tell you that what you're saying is absolutely stupid. To suggest that somehow FC Barcelona, the representation of Catalan independence movement, somehow gets favored by the central powers in Madrid who are against the succession, tells me that you either don't know nothing about Spain or you're just stupid. Unathi says, good morning, Mo. Do you think Olmo, Frank, and Fermin will be available for the Bayern and Madrid? Because we really need them, particularly for those two big matches. Hopefully, our team will collect 3 points. I'm guessing by Frank, you mean Frankie. And yes, they are supposed to all be back by then. Olmo, Frankie, Fermin, and maybe even Gabi. We'll see. Hopefully. But I would not be counting on them 100% because even if they are back by then, remember, when players come back from injury, you can't just throw them out there. You have to do it slowly. You have to get them to, get back into competitive rhythm, etc., etc. Let's say Boubacar says, hi, Mo. I think Casado is are invisible because no matter who he pairs with, MDF, it works. I think what Casado's doing this season is absolutely mind-blowing. We're very blessed to have him. And yes, I agree. Doesn't matter who you put next to him, he still does a wonderful job, whether he plays with Bernal, whether he plays with Pedri, whether he plays with Eric. Casado just finds a way to make the midfield his own. And you could probably pair him up with a sack of grain, and he's still going to do a great job. Luke says, we have enough center backs anyways. I wouldn't mind Araujo leaving. I would, again, because he's one of the best center backs. But if he wants to leave, there's not much we could do. We do have plenty of options. But, of course, I would prefer to retain him. It doesn't mean that the club should go all out and just do everything in their power to keep him. The club should still run their things the way they always run it and be like, yo, this is the offer. You want it? Cool. No? That's fine. Anyways, that is all the news for this podcast. I will be uploading another video in an hour or two because there is more news. And if I had covered it in the podcast, it would have been 10 hours long. I don't want to bore you. I know you guys have things to do. It's Friday. Go out there. Have fun. Dance. Eat. Whatever you do on Fridays, have a blast. It's the weekend. I will be uploading a video in an hour or two. Thank you for tuning in, for watching, for your likes, for your subscriptions. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do. We're very, very, very close to the 100K. Let's all get there together. I'll see you in the next video. And as always, Visca Barça.